Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if you could please kindly turn off or silence all cell phones or electronic devices. Thank you.
Bruchim habayim and welcome. Eshet Chayil mi'imsa, a woman of valor who can find, for her worth is far greater than rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, and through her he has no lack of gain. She does good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and gives food to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it, and with the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength and makes strong her arms. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done valiantly, he says, but you exceed them all. When thinking of what I wanted to share this afternoon, I chose to begin our time together reading an excerpt from Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, which comes from chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs. It's used as a song sung each Friday night at the Shabbat table in celebration of a strong Jewish woman. And today, we are brought together in loving memory of just such a woman, of Yetta Greenberg, a woman whom I learned demonstrated many of the characteristics described in Eshet Chayil. Now, I didn't know Yetta in life, as so many of you did, though by some circuitous method that neither Yetta's daughter Rhoda nor I exactly remember, we've been connected on and off for a few years at this point. As Yetta had health issues over the past number of years, Rhoda and I have been in contact as she navigated to caring for her mother, grief around her mother's eventual passing, and the like. It was a privilege then, and it is a privilege now to be standing here with you. Upon Yetta's passing, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Rhoda and with Lois, who shared with me about their mother, and I learned a lot about this incredible woman who lived with strength and with dignity until the age of 105. Lois just whispered to me in the front row that in just a month or two, she'd be 106. No small feat. As it says in Eshet Chayil, the law of kindness is on her tongue. Her daughter is telling me that Yetta's motto was, quote, be kind, end quote. Simple, true, real, and effective. It takes a lot of kindness and strength and fortitude, along with some luck and a lot of love to make it to 105. And Yetta did so, I learned, with grace, with warmth, with kindness, and with abounding love. Rhoda shared with me that her mother was always just so pleasant to be with. She shared that Yetta was not someone who yelled or held a grudge either. Lois shared with me that her mother, quote, taught her everything she knew, was a role model and an example. I learned about Yetta's time in the bakery business, her transition to the furniture business, all the way, the donut business, I believe it was, the bakery, the donuts, the transition to the furniture business, and the way that her life, her grandchildren will know, had many different eras. It was almost an eras tour as she added various different pieces of her life together, adding holiness upon holiness on top of holiness throughout her life. This loss is heavy and it's real. Today, we celebrate Yetta's 105 years of life. So more formally today, we gather for sacred purpose. We raise up the kavod, the honor of the life of Yetta Greenberg, Yitzel bat Yitzchak, Zichrono livracha, of blessed memory. As I haven't mentioned, Yetta was the wife of the late Louis Brown and the late Morris Greenberg, both of blessed memory. She was the sister of Lillian Soren of blessed memory. She's survived by her children, Lois DeBello and Rhoda Brown, her stepchildren, Nancy and her husband Alan, Leslie and her late husband Joe of blessed memory, and the late Mark of blessed memory and his wife Louise. Her grandchildren, the late David of blessed memory, Karen and Lisa and Julie, Susan, Andrew, Jacob, Alicia, Matthew, and Erica. And the great-grandmother of Zachary, Ryan, Brad, Danielle, Drew, Alex, Jillian, and the late David of blessed memory, and Asher, and Gavin, and Tristan, and Theodore. I pray I got every name and got them right. It's a lot. May your love for one another, God willing, draw you closer to one another in loving support of one another and carry you through this difficult loss and transition. So we come together today to pray for full and complete rest for Yetta's body, and we note that her soul remains bound in the bond of life to each of you, and we offer blessings for the continued elevation of her soul. My name's Rabbi Nathan Weiner. I'm a rabbi locally here in southern New Jersey, and I'm the incoming rabbi of Temple Har Zion in Mount Holly, New Jersey. On behalf of myself, my family, the team here at Platt Memorial Chapels, and Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, I offer you sincere condolences. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you today. Now going to turn to words of Tehillim, of Psalms. When words fail us in life and we look for spiritual elevation, we look to Psalms, and they're used universally across the Abrahamic faith traditions for this purpose, across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And as I was coming in, word is there's a new pope. We'll see. We don't know who it is yet, but the smoke has risen here. But I'm going to recite Psalm 23, a psalm used universally, as I said, across the faith traditions at moments of loss and grief. I'll read it first in Hebrew, followed by a standard, albeit masculine translation in the English. If you're comfortable and wish to in either language, in all or in part, I invite you to say it with me. Otherwise, I invite you to receive it. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achsar, bin oteshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchoti nahaleni. Nafshi yeshoveh v'encheni b'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'gei tzamavet lo irara ki atai madi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sororai, dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orach yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen, amen. And from Kohelet, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what has been planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time for silence and a time for speaking. We've now come to a time for speaking as some members of the family have prepared words of a hesped or a eulogy to share on Yetta's behalf. And we're first going to hear from two of her grandchildren, from Lisa and Julie, who will come up together to share some words. And then Elaine will offer some words on behalf of Rhoda and Lois. So, come on up.
I'm going to try and get through this without crying. The name Yetta is a Hebrew name meaning light and ruler of the household. And well, her name was a perfect fit. We entered her home with her famous greeting of "What's cookin'?" and left with a piece of her famous Jewish apple cake. They say that life is not about the number of breaths you take, but the number of moments that take your breath away. Today, we are proud to say that our Graham had plenty of both in almost 106 years of her beautiful life. Her secret to a long and prosperous life was simple. Be a good person, do the right thing, be kind, drink a little scotch, and most of all, love your family. Anytime we visited with Graham, she would always say, "I'm so happy for my family." She was a beacon of light in our lives, and we will forever be grateful for her wisdom and loving support from early childhood well into adulthood. Many of life's lessons came from the Book of Yetta, not a textbook. Graham had the greatest love and adoration for her family. She worked tirelessly every year to host the Jewish holidays, extending her dining room table well into the living room to seat everyone. Her passion for cooking, and boy could she cook, brought us all together just the way she liked it. It wasn't work for Graham, it was a labor of love to instill and carry on family traditions. She has so many famous recipes, but some of our favorites are matzo ball soup, potato kugel, zucchini muffins, chocolate chip sour cream cake, and of course her Jewish apple cake. Karen had put together a Shutterfly book of all her handwritten recipes, so we will always have our Graham guiding us in the kitchen.
Graham had many hobbies and most often busier calendar than all of us combined. She traveled the world with Morris, Aunt Lillian, Uncle Sal, Aunt Yetta, and friends. Graham was a gardener with a garden we'd all be envious of today. She loved the arts, she painted, visited museums all around the world, had annual theater tickets, and loved to sing along to all the classics from her generation. She had a true vision for design and true art for turning any room into a showplace. After losing our grandfather at the young age of 51, she reinvented herself and took her talents to Hirshhorn's furniture store, where she worked for 20-plus years, building relationships and helping strangers bring their home dreams into reality, including her own home, which was always perfection. She celebrated life on the dance floor. She was the best dancer in this family by far. We nicknamed her Dancing Queen because she was the first one on the dance floor and the life of the party. When we were little girls, she would teach us the box step and ballet positions in the kitchen. Who knew she'd be showing us up well into her 90s? She had an abundance of friends and enjoyed many years at the JCC with her best friend May, participating in classes from chair yoga to movie reviews and volunteering in the kitchen. Graham was strong and quietly resilient through life's challenges. She didn't complain ever and always had a glass half full attitude. She didn't seek attention. She just kept going, loving, giving, and caring. She was the heart and soul of our family and taught us how to live with grace, humility, and compassion. Her life was full of love, health, happiness, and abundance of gratitude for all things simple. She never took one day for granted and enjoyed each one to the fullest. She was dependable and smart, always offering kind words, and had the warmest and most infectious smile. At just 4'11" she was sweet and sassy and forever classic. What she gave us, her time, her wisdom, her unwavering support, will stay with us forever. And though we miss her deeply, we know she lives on in the lessons she taught us, in the way we love each other, and in the countless memories we carry in our hearts forever.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Hamida, and I was very privileged to be Yetta's overnight aide for 3.5 years. Yetta, Lois, and Rhoda are like family to me, and I'm honored that Lois and Rhoda have asked me to read their eulogy for their mom. We were always inspired by our mom's strength and independence, and by the way, she could enthusiastically embark on new chapters of her life when one chapter came to a close. More recently, we have come to recognize that it is not only her accomplishments that inspire us, but the way in which she lived her life. Thinking back, we can't remember any occasion where our mom raised her voice, argued, got mad, or held a grudge. We recently asked her about this, and her simple reply was, "What good would it do?" Our mom knew how to focus on what was important and not obsess on what could have been. Perhaps this trait was one of the contributors to her longevity. Caring for our mom and enabling her to age in place, in her own home, maintaining her social connections with family and friends, and living a long and healthy life has been a gift to us. Whenever anyone would visit, our mom would say, "You look so pretty," or "I like your sweater." And at the end of the visit, she would say, "Thank you for coming and please come again." We told our mom that she had quite a fan club, not just family and friends, but all who had the opportunity to spend time with her over the last year. Her Samaritan team, including her doctor, nurse, music therapist, massage therapist, social worker, and friendly visitors, all expressed sincere affection for her. My mom's response was a simple, "Why? What is so special about me?" Till almost the very end. She cognitively was sharp and knew the lyrics to every Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga, and Perry Como song, and had a surprisingly quick sense of humor. Just 1 month shy of her 106th birthday, she still had gorgeous legs with no age spots or varicose veins, and beautiful skin with far less wrinkles than either of us. She liked to play password with us as we would look at each other in amazement, and she guessed the password after just 1 or 2 clues, scoring better than us. Even as a young girl, our mom had an appreciation for fashion, as well-made clothes. She told us a story of how she saved up her money to buy a new coat. She went to Strawbridge and Clothier and bought a beautiful green coat. She was dating our dad at the time, and when he took her to visit his parents, she asked her future father-in-law what he thought of the coat, as he appreciated fine tailoring. According to our mom, he said the coat was beautiful, but then turned to our dad and said, "You can't afford to marry her." After our dad passed away, our mom started a new career at Lewis Hirshhorn Company, helping clients choose furniture and design their homes. One morning, 3 men held up the store at gunpoint. With a gun pointed at her back, the robbers told my mom and her boss to get down on the floor. Her boss, Bruce Hirschhorn, looked at our frightened mom and said, "Oh no, she is not a lady who will get down on the floor." And they agreed to lock her in the bathroom instead. Each morning, we spoke of what we were grateful for that day. Some of Mom's favorite words to live by were, "Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God." "A little bit of soap and water goes a long way." And, "Please be kind." These sayings were indicative of how she lived her life and life lessons for all of us to remember. Our mother's resilience was awe-inspiring. Carrie, her hospice nurse, always reminded us that our mom was just not textbook. She lived her life and took her last breath her way. Our mom was such an integral part of our lives, and we will miss her more than words can say, cherishing all the wonderful memories we shared.
It's with these beautiful thoughts and memories and dedications in mind that we move to El Malei Rachamim, the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service that asks that as we prepare shortly at Mount Sharon to inter Yetta in her final resting place, that her soul be granted true rest on the wings of God's divine presence. I'll read it first in English translation, followed by chanting in the Hebrew. If it's comfortable physically for you to do so, I invite you to please rise. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the divine presence in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as a resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Yetta Greenberg, who has gone to her eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of her soul. May her place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of God's wings forever and bind her soul in the bond of life. Adonai is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace, and let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kiroshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Yitzol Bat Yitzchak, Shehalcha Le'olama, Ba'avor Shnadvu Tzedakah, Ba'ad Hazkarat Nishmata, B'gan Eden Tehe Menuchata, Lachen Bala Rachamim Yasti Reha B'Setor Kenafav Le'olamim, Vitzror Bitzror HaChayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach Al Mishkava B'Shalom, V'nomar, Amen. Please be seated. Our time together here at the chapel is drawing to a close. Some announcements on behalf of the family before we depart. Those going to the cemetery will make our way in processional to Mount Sharon, immediately following our time here. Following interment, family, friends, everyone is welcome back at the Grand at her apartment at 1920 Frontage Road, Cherry Hill, apartment 716. It's apartment 716. That's in the West Tower. Parking is open. You can park anywhere, but it's the West Tower, apartment 716 at the Grand in Cherry Hill. So that's immediately following. And again, Shiva Minyan tonight promptly at 7:30. Tomorrow, visitation begins at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon with a mincha and afternoon service Shiva Minyan promptly at 2:30. Same place at the Grand. The family asks that donations in lieu of flowers may please be made to one of two organizations that were important to Yetta and her family: Samaritan Healthcare and Hospice at SamaritanNJ.org, or the Jewish Family and Children's Service of Southern New Jersey at JFCSSNJ.org. So once again, Samaritan Healthcare and Hospice and the Jewish Family and Children's Service of Southern New Jersey.
We would ask if you would all rise once more, please.
Psalm 91. Yeshev v'teto yon b'tel shaddai leman. Amar Elohai machzim et tefilati Elohai etachvo. V'hu yatocha mikach akush midevach havod. V'bertu etzacha